An officer who was convicted of assaulting a woman while arresting her for suspected fare evasion was the victim of a politically motivated witch hunt. That's according to the Police Federation. In June 2023, PC Perry Lathwood grabbed the arm of Jocelyn Ajimang and arrested her after she disembarked a bus and refused to show her pass to a ticket inspector. It was later confirmed she did have a valid ticket and was de-arrested at the scene. But the incident was recorded, and PC Lathwood's manhandling of the suspect attracted significant public interest, leading the IOPC to investigate him for racially aggravated assault. He was later charged and convicted for just common assault. But as a result of this case, Metropolitan Police officers have stopped assisting London's transport network with ticket inspections. Rick Pryor, chairman of the Metropolitan Police Federation, joins me now. Do your officers now worry about arresting people like this for fears of being accused of racism?
Yes, they do. And they are also hesitant about involving themselves off-duty if they see antisocial behaviour, for instance, people with their feet on the seats on trains, because they think they won't be supported if they intervene. This is a marked change since I joined the police service 28 and a half years ago. We've not only, when we had a warrant card in our pocket, we felt obliged to intervene in those type of situations. And now, officers more than likely wouldn't for fear of the consequence of doing so.
Why did the IOPC initially investigate PC Perry Lathwood for racially aggravated assault?
I don't know. All that I do know is that the incident happened in July last year. It had been referred to them almost immediately. And then 3 months later, having reviewed all of the evidence and the body-worn video, they issued a notice, a misconduct notice to PC Lathwood, accusing him of racially aggravated assault. I don't know of any evidence whatsoever that would support any such allegation being made, having sat through both the full magistrate's trial and the Crown Court appeal and listened to all of the body-worn video numerous times, as well as reading the statements. The only thing that would implicate any kind of race in this is the race of the police officer, who was white, and the race of the lady involved, who was black. Those are the only things that would attribute any kind of race to it. There was no evidence of any kind of aggravating factor of race in relation to the incident as it is alleged.
Would you have handled the incident in the same way?
I would, and I've gone on record to say the same to say that. Again, having looked at all of the body-worn video, one has to understand that policing is a split-second decision. You don't get to analyse it in the comfort of your Chesterfield's sofa, wearing a smoking jacket, postulating that it could have been done better because we did this. You could have got hold of his arm slightly different. It's decisions that are made in the heat of the moment, in a split second. PC Lathwood on that day was the backstop police officer. The people involved in the revenue protection were lined up for when the bus stopped. They were the people, not police officers, but revenue protection officers from Transport for London. Those were the people responsible for checking the tickets. The lady in question walked past the revenue protection inspector, asking her for a ticket. She then walked past the PCSO, who had her arms outstretched, and it was PC Lathwood's job to ensure that anybody who is required to show their ticket doesn't get the opportunity to just wander off and ignore that lawful instruction. That's all that happened on that day. PC Lathwood was doing his job in accordance with his training and in accordance with how those particular type of revenue protection operations operate.
So she had the chance to show her ticket?
She had numerous chances to show her ticket, and on every opportunity, she didn't show that ticket.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. The reason that she gave was because she was in a rush. She needed to get to an appointment. However, one has to say that in the society that we live in, it has to be accepted that when one travels on public transport, you have to accept that if you're asked or required to show a valid ticket of travel, then you do so. That has to be the bottom line with this. And it's a perfectly reasonable request for her to do so. Being late for an appointment isn't an excuse not to push past revenue protection inspectors who, like the police, are just doing their job. It would have taken 15 seconds, 10 seconds. It's literally a yellow card reader they've got. You just touch the card that you use for the fare on the thing, and it beeps and says, yes, you've paid. That's it. That's all it would take. And it would have taken 10 seconds, if that.
You refer to it as a politically motivated witch hunt. Mm-hmm. Why did you say that?
I think the police has become politicised internally. To a certain extent. The race action plan may well be one such example of that. If everything that the police do is viewed through the lens of race, then you will get the situation as you had in this case, where the incident happened in July of last year. The IOPC had 3 months to look at it, look at all of the evidence involved, and yet 3 months later, they still issued a notice accusing the officer of racially motivated assault on the lady in question. Now, there is no evidence whatsoever. I sat through both court cases. I sat through the Magistrates' Court, I sat through the Crown Court, I've read the statements. There's no evidence at all that there was any aspect of race involved in this case at all, none, other than the fact that the police officer is white and the lady in question is black. Now, the IOPC would have known that, and yet they still pursued and detailed an allegation that accused PC Lathwood of racially aggravated assault. So when everything is viewed through the lens of race, then you get, I don't know who's attributed to saying this, but when everything is racist, then nothing is racist. It gives that sort of mentality, and it feeds into the whole crisis of confidence issue, where police officers, be it on or off duty, are wary and worried about engaging and dealing with various members of particular communities, be it the black community or others, for fear of getting in trouble.
What to me is being suggested is if police officers are hesitant to what you call engage with people from minority communities, I therefore assume they're less hesitant when it comes to white communities, which, correct me if I'm wrong, suggests that when it comes to apprehending, arresting, questioning, searching people from minority communities versus people from white communities, there will be a different approach. Do you think that's fair for me to say that?
I think that that would certainly play on officers' minds, certainly. You know, there's no formal policy of the Met Police, obviously, in relation to that. But by the anecdotal accounts and by the evidence that they see in front of them of these type of cases, and this case, by the way, is not on its own. We have a number of these type of cases where police officers like me, you know, I've got 28 and a half years service, and I looked at that, and I've looked at all the video, and I've sat through it, and I've gone on the record to say that I would have acted in exactly the same way as PC Lathwood had on that day in question, given all of the known facts. And other police officers like me will look at that and other such examples, and they will say, by the grace of God go I, I've not gone to trouble yet for my interactions. However, if it can happen to PC Lathwood and it can happen to others, then it can happen to me. And the natural consequence of that is that they will be less proactive in what they do. They'll be less proactive in, they see something suspicious over there. They're more likely now to concentrate on doing whatever they're doing and not deviate, not take the time to investigate and look at something that they think is potentially suspicious. It follows, you know, it's a fairly common sense self-preservation aspect, really, in that sense. So I can see what you're getting at in terms of the way this manifests itself in the way police officers operate.
It seems to me, to paraphrase what you have just said there, is that policing depends upon analysis and instinct and experience, which probably builds up both of those things. And yet, if anybody were to accuse you of it being based on some sort of internalised prejudice or racism, your profession could be on the line, that you could be at risk of facing a disciplinary action.
Correct, yes, absolutely. And not only that, if a complaint is made and it's investigated and taken seriously, more often than not, you're taken off operational duties, you're put in office and told to file paper clips or push a pen around, and you're not able to earn any overtime when you're doing that. So and on top of that, investigations are not prompt. So if it's an IOPC-led investigation, you could be talking years. In fact, even the Met, I recently, only last week, concluded a gross misconduct hearing where the officer was cleared of the allegations were not proven against this officer. And that investigation lasted 4 years from start to the point of him being cleared of the allegations put to him. That's 4 years his life's been on hold, 4 years that he's not been able to, do the job that he was employed to do.
How prevalent is this? I mean, is this the sort of topic that police officers quietly between themselves are often talking about? We are scared when we go out and try and do our job as police officers, that if we are having to interact or engage with somebody from a minority community, we're going to be accused, or we're at risk of being accused of racism, therefore we would rather not. Is that the sort of conversations officers are having, and how prevalent is that feeling?
Yes, that is, and it's extremely prevalent. And that's what I hear echo across the country as well. It's deemed the crisis of confidence in policing, and the Commissioner alluded to that in a recent speech that he made as well. It is prevalent, and it is a very real thing.
Do you think this is now having an impact on criminality on the streets, if police feel hesitant in their line of duty?
Yes, I do, and I think that's borne out by the statistics as well. I'm not a big fan on the use of a lot of statistics. I think, especially with the disproportionality statistics, when you're comparing stop and search rates in London and you're using a demographic of the whole UK's population, I think that can be misleading. But in terms of the statistics on stop and search, there's a direct correlation between stop and search going right down and knife crime in particular going right up. If criminals know that it's going to be very unlikely that they're going to be stopped and searched, particularly by a random police officer going past, that they would have to fall into some pre-planned operation to be stopped and searched, then they will be more likely to carry knives. It's a fairly basic concept, really.
Just months after the incident we have been discussing, hundreds of Met police officers either downed guns or even left firearms units after an officer was charged with the murder of Chris Cabba. Do officers in the Met Police have faith that they're protected by their superiors?
It's a bit of a tricky one to answer, that is. I think the answer would be, to a certain extent, they do, but only to the extent that they're the senior officers, the management, and lower down the chain, the middle management, are able to do so. Because for very serious incidents such as the one you've alluded to, it's taken out the hands of senior officers and it's put into the hands of the IOPC. And I can say that police officers have virtually no confidence that the IOPC are either independent or that they will treat the officers fairly and carry out a prompt and effective investigation.
Rick Pryor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.